You're listening to the Dental Student Vibes podcast, where it's all about good vibes. This is episode number 9. Today we're going to talk about whether we should do a post-bac or masters and how it will help to get into dental school, what benefits it'll give you, and how it can help your dental school application. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at dental.student.vibes, on Twitter at DSV Podcast, and on Facebook, Dental Student Vibes. Please subscribe and share. So, fellas, today we're going to talk about what is a post-bac, what is a masters. So, Qasim, you did a post-bac. What is a post-bac?
Okay, so there's a number of different ways you can actually do a post-bac. So, a post-bac can be considered like taking graduate courses, graduate level classes, and then on top of that, you can also have a program that's actually geared towards doing an actual post-bac program that's tailored towards like dental, medical, pharmacy, whatever you may choose.
Right.
And yeah, like I said, majority of the time it consists of upper level science courses that are geared towards improving your application and competitiveness in the application pool.
Right. So doing a post-bac, doing a master's, that's definitely going to be all about getting your grades up and learning the material before you get into school.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So what is the difference between a post-bac and a master's?
I can shed light on the post-bac because I did one, and then I know you did a master's as well.
Masters.
So I'll take the lead on the post-bac right here.
All right.
So with the post-bac that I did, I got a certificate for it. So I didn't get an actual master's degree for it. Some might provide a master's degree, some might not. But post-bac generally will just give you like a medical certificate, so to speak. So it's just like a completion of the program. And then a lot of the post-bac programs that we'll be discussing today, they have linkages to certain dental schools, which give you kind of like a shoe-in into dental school. It's not a guarantee, but it'll give you like a good upper hand, and then we'll be kind of discussing what are the advantages of it, and then we'll dive a bit deeper into the details of them.
Right. So then a master's, I would say the difference is, well, the master's that I did, it was only 1 year. A lot of masters are 2 years. So I got a master's degree in medical science. So a master's is you're going to usually earn a certificate in whatever halfway through, and then at the very end you earn the master's degree. So when I was done just with the fall semester, I earned a certificate in medical science, and then at the end of it was 3 semesters, fall, spring, summer, and at the end of summer I earned a master's degree. And we got it, at graduation, and you get you don't get the hood, but you get the drape thing, whatever. I mean, it doesn't even matter. It's not even that cool.
You should throw all of that stuff on when you graduate from dental school as well.
Just
put everything on there.
Like one of those people that wears like 50 tassels.
You look like a Jedi.
You look like a Jedi, yeah. So, okay, why would we consider doing a post-bac program after college?
So for me, I knew when I was coming out of undergrad that my GPA wasn't very, very competitive. Mm-hmm. I'll be the first to admit, I think I was a bit naive because I wasn't really familiar with the application process for dental school at that time. This was in 2015. So I did a bit more research on the internet because there's so many different programs and it's difficult to kind of start where you should go. Mm-hmm. So I did a couple Google searches at first, and then a lot of the schools, they'll specify that it's geared towards a certain track, mm-hmm. like a dental track, a medical track, pharmacy track, etc. Mm-hmm. So the main reason I did it was to boost my GPA. The post-bac that I did also had a linkage to the dental school that we're at. And then it allows you to like take a bit more info in, really kind of hone in your study habits, get exposed to really difficult courses, because some of the science courses that we take, I think some people haven't even seen the material before. So brother. That was like a huge advantage, like for me, and I was really lucky,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that the linkage program, if you can get one of those, that's absolutely like a huge plus. But just the experience that you get from taking, whether you're retaking a class that you didn't do so well in an undergrad, or you're taking like that more advanced science that your school might not offer in undergrad, it gives you more opportunities. You start networking, you meet people that are going to be generally interested in whatever field you're trying to go into. So I think just staying in school is always a good thing to do when you're on this track.
Right. And I guess you would say the reason why people do some sort of post-bac or master's is, it's to make your application more competitive. And like you just said, if you did bad in some class, usually you're going to take that sort of science class in the post-bac or master's program. I actually didn't even take anatomy. I was a bio major, so I didn't even take anatomy as a bio major for some reason.
I didn't either.
Right?
Yeah.
And so one of the requirements for some of the schools is doing anatomy. And you have to do like anatomy and physiology 1 and 2. And in my master's degree, I took an anatomy course, and I also took a physio course. So that would like mark off the requirements, the prerequisites for your dental school application.
That's good. I know in our dental school specifically, our master's program fed in 17 people directly without really, going through the traditional process. They just interviewed and then they let them right in because they had the required GPA.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
The other thing that you definitely have to keep in mind as well is a lot of these programs, they require like a certain score for your standardized test. So you had to have the DAT to apply to my program that I did.
Oh, wow.
A lot of them take the MCAT as well. And then what is that other, the GRE,
The
right?
GRE.
Yeah, a lot of them will take the GRE in substitution of the DAT.
Okay.
So you'll definitely want to take a look at the requirements on the school's websites for the master's programs or the post-bac programs to see what their minimum score is. And then the other thing that we were going to mention was that a lot of them have like an integrated boot camp, for DAT studying. So it really preps you really nicely, so it gets you going to maybe strengthen your score if you didn't do so hard the first time on the DAT.
And so a lot of these questions stem from one of our listeners, Anthony V. So shout out Anthony V. You know who you are. We appreciate you listening to us, and we appreciate you asking all those questions. So
Absolutely.
thank you, Anthony V.
Keep them coming, guys.
Keep them coming. This is all answering questions from all of our listeners, so we appreciate you guys. So next, why do the dental schools like when you do the post-bac?
Well, I think it's kind of touching on what I said earlier. It's just staying in school. If you're not going into dental school right away, right out of college, it kind of shows your dedication and commitment to your future.
Yeah.
By willing to do another program, whether it's a post-bac or a master's, and furthering your education just to make you a better applicant. So yeah,
I think it also proves that you can handle like a rigorous course load. Because as I was saying, the programs aren't easy. I think it was probably one of the most stressful years of my life, and I'm sure Seth can probably relate to that as well. It really, really tests you, and it
was a
tests your
grind.
limits, And if your post-bac is tailored towards a dental school, it's like a tryout, really, to prove that you can handle it. Not only managing stress, but also, there's a coursework that you take requires a lot of memorization. And on top of that, you have to have that conceptual reasoning ability as well. So like, we won't just have first order questions. And an example of like a first order question is, what nerve innervates this muscle?
Right.
A second order question will go a bit deeper. So they'll give you like a clinical scenario.
okay.
And then you'll get these symptoms, and then you'll have to directly correlate it to something a bit more downstream,
Right. I remember one of my questions that was like, I think it was like tertiary. It was, this is in histology. And so all that it said was, it gave you a picture of a histo slide. And then it said, what is the protein that would recognize which cancer in this histo slide? So first of all, you have to know what you're looking at in the histo slide. You have to know and then there would be an arrow pointing to a specific cell. So you have to know where you are in the body, what the cell is, and then tertiary, you have to know what proteins are in that specific cell. So it's like, you really got to know your stuff.
That's
So you're-
detailed.
you're like integrating everything possible
Yeah,
within one subject just to answer one question.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's a lot of, the thing that's nice is like, it's a lot of clinical stuff. You in undergrad, you're like, what is a jellyfish? You remember that? Remember you had to like rank the order, like the phylums and all that stuff? Not in the master's report.
I remember one of my questions. This really like destroyed my mind. So like, it was someone who had gotten into a car accident. It was a clinical scenario, and they damaged like one of their vertebrae, right? And then how there's like certain levels, right? There's like C6, T3, whatever, and then those nerves that come out from those rootlets, they innervate a certain muscle or something like that, right? So you had to know like which muscle it was, and then it asked you, I think something like upstream of, okay, which range would it have been in, or something like, was it C7 to T3 or something crazy? But God, like I was reasoning through that thing like for so long. But it tests you because like, you kind of learn how to work through those things rather than, like as a dentist for us, we're gonna have to work through scenarios that's gonna require us to like use our critical thinking skills. And I think that's one thing I really benefited from when I did my program.
Critical thinking. It's not just memorize it and throw it back up. It's actually somewhat critical thinking.
Yeah, totally. All right, so let's go on to the next question. Let's say I have a good GPA and all my prereqs are finished, but I did not get into a dental school this cycle. Should I consider a master's program? So me personally, I think, like I said earlier, getting a degree, being in school is better than doing nothing.
Right.
So I think, like you guys were touching on earlier, the volume of work that you're going to be getting compared from undergrad to that next level, whether it's a post-bac or a master's degree, it's a complete 180 of what you're doing in college.
Yeah.
So I think just that exposure and that willingness to keep pushing yourself through that kind of program, even though that's not what you ultimately want to do, I think that's a wonderful thing to experience.
Yeah, and then like, I think the most important thing, if you have a good GPA and everything, that is really going to be up to you. Are you willing to spend the money? Because that's, first of all, I think my master's degree for 1 year was like $36,000. But I know some of the other people that were in my class, they had offers to go to other master's degrees, and it was like $70,000, $100,000 for like 1 or 2 year master degree. I'm like,
it's like an MBA.
No,
like,
thank you.
Yeah,
definitely not. So that's something that you definitely want to consider. But it's really like, it depends on if that's what's lacking in your application. If you have a good GPA, if you have, honestly, I'm going to say like 3.7 or 3.8 and up, and then also like above a 2021, I don't know, I would say you do not need to do a master's. You have the academic part down. If you're lacking in other like experience or stuff like that, maybe go to work as a dental assistant or
get involved.
Just get involved and do those other things. But I don't think that that's what is going to really save your application. If you didn't get in this cycle, you're probably lacking other things.
Yeah.
However, if you were very involved as I was, and you have all these extracurriculars, you have all these shadowing experiences. However, my grades were like, so therefore I went and I did the master's degree. I only applied once, but I was just like, I'm just going to do it. And I know that this is what's going to help me get to the next level.
And yours was like kind of focused towards dental stuff. You had a Master of Medical Sciences, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So if you're going to do a master's program, try to find classes that are going to be, not only they could help you retake the DAT, think of it that way, even if you're not going to, you want to take classes that are going to be focused on what you're trying to specialize in.
Yeah. I just want to touch on something that Seth mentioned as well. I 100% agree with you, that if your GPA isn't lacking, then I personally wouldn't recommend doing it, but you have to do your due diligence and really figure out what is best for you. But it's a really high risk, high reward type of thing.
Of course.
Because for me, the way mine worked was that you had to have a certain GPA throughout that 1 year, and then you would have a very strong possibility to get accepted into dental school, right? But my GPA counted towards my undergrad. So if I really didn't do well in it, then it takes my undergrad down even more.
Right.
And then it makes me look even less competitive.
Okay, so let's get into that. So some people dropped out of the masters. Like there was like 250 people that applied, and were in it in the first semester. And then I'll never forget this. I walk in the second semester and we're like, where did everybody go? 2/3 of the class is gone because it is that hard. Like you're putting the pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
So there's that, first of all. And then also, I mean, you really have to consider what, like you just said, like what you really want to do with your life.
Yeah.
So let's take this moment. Shout out to Pre-Dental at UConn, the Pre-Dental Association at UConn. How we doing? Thanks for hitting us up. Thanks for following us. Anyways.
All right. So we're going to go on to the next question. How long are most master's programs? And how much of my time, and by time they mean like daily time, will I have to dedicate towards it? So I think it's only a 1 to 2 year most master's programs, correct?
It's really like variable. A couple of the other master's programs that I applied to, they had you could kind of make your own schedule to where you could do it at your own pace. I think the average for some of them was like 16 months, or so it'd be like 1.5 years. I'm sorry. How was yours? Because you also
3 semesters. I don't know how many months.
Program.
It was, I think you start in August, you end in August, something like that.
And with you guys, were you able to apply that year? Because, a lot of people, I think the thing that they worry about if they do a master's or a post-bac is that they do their master's for a year and then they have to wait another year while they're applying.
Right.
So do you have to finish your master's?
No, so you don't have, so there's a couple people in our master's program that applied to dental school and then also applied to the master's at the same time in the same cycle. So they're waiting, because, it takes a while for your master's application or for your dental application to go through, and then you finally hear December 1st, and then is the other one January 1st. But you can start the master's degree in August.
Okay.
You start like the fall semester. And so they actually found out in December, like they were basically done with the fall semester.
Okay.
And so some people decided, I'm going to finish out the master's. I'm going to get this experience. I already paid this much. I'm going to, finish this degree. Other people are like, later, dude, later. And they just didn't finish the master's.
So do you have to update the dental school with your grades?
Yes.
Throughout
Yes. Great point.
Okay.
Most dental schools will want you to update with the application. And honestly, you just say like, oh, I got straight A's in this fall semester of the master's or the post-bac. And they're like, boom, you're in. So you're good to go.
Going back to what Anthony was asking about, like the time commitment. So I'll give my perspective behind it. So when I started my post-bac program, I felt like this was my last shot to get into dental school. I was like, this is all or nothing.
Your back's against the wall.
Yeah, my
right?
back was against the wall. So it was scary. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was so nerve-wracking, and it was the most stressful 8 months of my life, but it was so worth it. That being said, any free minute I had, if I was not sleeping, I was studying. So my schedule was quite nice because I had class from 2 to 6, Monday through Friday. So in the morning, I would study up until about 1:30. And then once I was done at 6, I'd have dinner, relax for an hour. And then from 7 till 10, I'd study again. And this was every day for 8 months straight.
Right.
Just the pressure of every question counting and having to maximize your points from the exams. It's not easy. So I'm not saying it to scare anyone, but the commitment that you have to have towards it is very, very high.
Right.
To be successful.
There you go. So when you decide, okay, now you've decided I'm going to do this master's program, I'm going to do this post-bac program, you have to give it 110%. This is your last shot, So it's kind of just like you don't get a job, you don't do extracurriculars. I couldn't even work out half the time during the master's because just as Qasim said, I always tell you guys a story. I wake up 6:30, get to school at 7. That's when the library opens, and I would be there. I bring all my lunches packed for the day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I'd be there till 11, 12, 1 a.m. depending on if it's exam week and stuff. So it's really serious. And if you're doing this, don't waste your money, don't waste your time. Get it, crush it, put it behind you, and remember how much hard work and hard effort you put into doing the master's.
Do you think, besides lab, your master's / post-bac was harder than our first year so far? Besides our sim lab and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I 100% think so.
It was...
But you guys are prepared. You know what you're doing.
That is the other thing. So,
definitely for anatomy, too.
Anatomy,
we didn't take anatomy.
So, I actually, I'm glad you brought that up. So, let me take you guys through the classes that I had in the fall and the spring when I did my post-bac. So in the fall semester, I took cell biology, which is a standardized college biology course. So that was actually one of the easier courses that I took. Then I took medical biochemistry, medical physiology, microbiology, critical thinking, and histology.
Critical thinking? That's
critical thinking.
That's the name of a class.
That was a 1-credit course, but it was a sneaker, man. Some people, I think, dropped out of the program because they just didn't take it seriously. There was 50 points total in that class. So if you bomb something, then you can fail out of the program.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
And then in the spring, I took immunology, human anatomy, pharmacology, pathology, genetics, and intro to clinical medicine. We have taken how many of those courses, guys? Pretty much all of them.
Almost all of them.
Yeah. Our first year of dental school.
Right.
It really prepares you for the didactics, right?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And okay, so that's for the post-bac. And honestly, the master's is basically the same thing. Before I tell you guys what I took in the master's, let's get a shout out to the American Dental Student Society. And this is in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
How about
There
that?
you go.
Oh,
Shout out to you guys. Thanks for
Podcast Without
featuring
Borders.
us.
We're
over
coming
here.
on a vacation over there to
Yeah.
Dominican.
Qasim, how many countries did you say have been listening to us?
I was shocked by it. It was, what, like 25 or something
I
like
think
that?
you said
Yeah.
25.
So
25
shout out to
something.
everyone
Wow.
that's listening. We're here to help, and we want to make this
Shout out
process
to
easier.
Shout out to everyone in England as well.
Yeah. Let's go Liverpool.
Manchester United.
We worldwide, baby. Anyways, so master's degree classes. Let's talk about fall semester. We had immunology, anatomy. We had biochemistry. Honestly, those are huge ones for us. We're taking tests on those now. We had one more slip in my mind.
Micro.
Here. Yeah, it was like immunology and micro. Oh, and then genetics, of course. I don't think we go into genetics too deep, but the guy Dr. George Blank, who taught genetics, absolute genius. His IQ is off the charts.
Doesn't he have like the whole genome memorized?
Oh my God, don't even get me started. All right. So that was fall semester. Then spring semester, we turned it up a little bit, right? So this was usually, they call it the hardest semester. It's physio. So you're going to do the kidney, cardio, and lungs, right? Those are usually your most difficult systems that you talk about in physiology. Then we also had pharmacology. We had neuroscience. I know a lot of dental schools don't go too deep into neuroscience. But what is nice is for pharmacology, we learn the full spectrum of all the drugs. So I can post this on our Instagram if we want. We had hundreds of drugs memorized in these giant charts. Our final exam was on 215 drugs. We had to have mechanism of action, contraindications, side effects, you name it. And it was memorizing. Crazy test.
That was, like pharmacology. It reminded me of microbiology, but like on steroids.
Oh,
You know, it was,
Yeah.
man, it was
Get
intense.
it? Steroids, pharmacology. And then we had one other class.
Oh my god.
That's a bad one.
Oh, and then histology. I already mentioned that previously. And then our last semester we had, so all of those things sort of build, those are your foundations to get to the summer semester, which is the most, I guess that's another one that's like the most difficult, but that's embryology, which kind of ties all the anatomy together. You have to do anatomy before you do embryo. But then the ultimate is pathology. And we all know when we're studying our pathology chapters, we love them, right?
Yeah.
It's very dense.
There's
dense.
a lot of
It's-
diseases.
Yeah.
It's just a lot.
And then you have to
Be
really
careful, guys.
Just be careful.
Take it
Harsh
easy,
world
guys.
out
Take
there.
it easy.
And
Take your multivitamin.
the biggest thing is don't try diagnosing yourself after you read this.
Oh yeah, that's the
So
number
you
one
read it
thing.
and then you
Oh,
have
boy.
suddenly all these problems.
Yeah, because like some of the symptoms, they overlap so much, and you're like, I think I felt that one day. One time in my body.
Like, you scratch your arm, you're like, oh god, what do I have now? Like
Chagas. Yeah, CT fly. Anyways, so Qasim, tell me, how did you stay motivated when you're going through all this? We talked about how much time you have to dedicate, and it's a grind, Some days, I just remember like walking outside during final exam week, and people would be outside like walking, pacing in circles, like calling their moms.
Yeah.
Like, Mom, I'm not gonna be able to do this. It's too much. I'm gonna fail everything. But everybody pulls through. So how did you stay motivated?
So, like I said, so before I started, like I felt like the trophy was right there in front of me, but I had to just put in the work to get it, I always felt like I was an average student when I was going through undergrad, and I wasn't sure if I was really capable of handling dental school. And for me, one of the biggest motivations I had was I needed to finally prove to myself, like, I need to reach my potential. What is my potential? Because I've never really put 110% into anything except from when I started that post-bac program. And then for me, the results started coming the first semester. And when you see the hard work that pays off and you're competing against people who are also, setting the bar really high, because there was some really, really bright people in our class.
Yeah. There always is. You're
And
just like, how
you
did they
always
do
see
it?
them. Yeah. And like, it was a really like proud moment for me to be able to match up to those people, because I always felt like I wasn't able to,
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kept driving me to do it. And also, like my parents and my family and my friends, they pushed me like so much, because like Seth and I were saying, it's really, really stressful. And there's gonna be times where you're just like, is it even worth it? You know, like I went through so many of those times over winter break. Like I remember I went back home and I was like, I just don't know if I can do another semester of this because it was like mentally taxing.
It was, okay. So we both had the same experience where our master's post-bac it's honestly way harder than dental school. And I think it's a big reason is because we had to kind of change our behaviors. We had to change our study habits. We had to change like our mental focus, you know, and what's our foundations over here? The foundations of the Dental Student Vibe podcast: family and friends, mental focus, fitness, and finance. You got the 4 F's, baby.
4 F's, baby.
So,
but yeah, I mean, you're 100% right on that.
You guys are really selling these programs to people right now.
you know,
these viewers are like,
you would think would be sponsored.
It's funny because I would never take that year back ever.
Yeah.
And not just because I got into dental school, but just for the preparation it gave me. I think for me, probably the biggest takeaway was the study habits I formed. I really finally figured out how to study because I think for us, one of the most challenging like aspects of dental school is just the brute amount of memorization that you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to filter out the unnecessary information through that program because, you know, you see a pattern of the things that they ask like pretty commonly. So like the way they tested us was like board style questions. Mm-hmm. So they showed us this really interesting statistic at the start of the year saying that these are the board scores of the people who did this program versus people who did not do the program. And they scored like a decent amount higher as well, the people who did the program. So I think we know what's high yield now and we know what's not. So we can kind of condense our studying time down a lot and be way more effective with it.
Always about the high yield, baby.
Yeah, always about the high yield.
And I totally agree with you. Regardless of what we learn, like talking about science and stuff, whatever, the most important thing, learning the study habits, learning who you are, like how far can you push yourself? That is really what I took from it. And I would never, I would never give it back. I think that was one of the most important years of my life where I really like changed who I was as a person. And I was like, okay, dentistry, I want this bad. Let's go. It's time to get going. Turn the engine on. I'm putting the pedal to the metal, baby. Let's ride.
I've got FOMO now.
No, seriously, man. Like we're going to take this a bit deeper actually, because like we're not even exaggerating when we say that. Like I really feel like I became a much better person.
Yeah.
Like a better version of myself, because it's not just in the information you learn, is managing your time effectively, like figuring out how can you balance like the time between your loved ones and your friends and also handle like something as stressful as this.
It's an important skill to have if you can acquire it.
Yeah. You feel very accomplished after you like get through something.
I want to shout out to Gabe, Kelvin, Justin, and Krithi. Those are my homies from the Masters.
Yeah. I'll give a shout out to Adam, Path, and Rob. If we didn't go through that year together, that would have been really tough because we all kept each other afloat.
You always got to have that support system.
Yeah, you really do.
All right. So we're going to go on to the next question now. Thoughts on research during like a master's program. So I did research in undergrad. I know a couple of us did research in undergrad. It's one thing to do it in undergrad, but it's considering the time commitment that you already have with your schoolwork. Do you guys really think it's necessary to do when you're doing a post-bac or a master's?
Okay. Again, just like we talked about earlier, how good is your application? First of all, have you done research before? If you've done research before, no. Don't do it.
You guys even have time?
The other thing is, I don't know how some people had time. So some people did a ton of research, but other people will say, yes, do the research. Like, just keep doing the research. I will tell you what is more important. I did my research. So I did the master's at a medical school, right? USF Med School, Morsani College of Medicine. And
Shout out.
And that is connected to Moffitt Cancer Center, one of the biggest cancer centers in the United States. And their research there and is just absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely amazing. And so the most important thing, because a lot of people who do the masters and the post-bac are trying to get into med school, you know, the select few, the real go-getters. So a lot of them want to do research to get that network to get into the med school, because a lot of those people who are doing research are professors at the med school. So, you know, honestly, your net worth is your network. You feel me?
Yeah, I just think it's not. That was a good one.
Yeah, wordplay on that one.
Feel me?
I feel like, you got to make sure school comes first.
Yeah.
Research second on free time. But if you're going to do research, find something that you enjoy doing. Seth, like where you went to where you did your master's, I'm sure there was an abundance of research you would have been interested in.
I was going to do one. It was in oral pathology, but there, like, you actually see like hundreds that, I don't even know. There's so many patients that would be there. But I just never ended up doing it.
Hey, everything works out for a reason.
It's better to get good grades, to get A's, than to do research.
Yeah. I personally didn't do research either, but I was still able to get in. But like Anthony was mentioning, it's all dependent on your overall application. Mm-hmm. And if you really think there's something that is lacking and it will really significantly strengthen it, then go for it, because there's a lot of schools that stress research. They're really like research heavy. So if you're applying to a school like that, then maybe it's a consideration for you, because you have to really evaluate what the school is looking for, because I think every school is known for something different in a way, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I guess you could say USF was, that's a big research school for sure. They just changed their mascot to what, George? It's the USF Bulls, but it kind of looks like
it looks like the Merrill Lynch logo now.
It's kind of funny.
Shout out Merrill Lynch.
Shout out
Merrill Lynch. Is that what you said? Shout out Merrill Lynch.
Yeah.
What else are we going to touch on? Anthony, okay, one quick question I had for you.
Mm-hmm.
Are we done with the post-bac programs and the master's programs, or did we have more questions for those?
Oh, we do have one more question.
We have one final question.
I'll hold that thought.
Well, actually, we have from another Anthony from... What is this, Nova? Yes, from Nova.
Oh, wow.
If I choose to not pursue a post-bac or master's and take a gap year, does that hurt my chances when applying next cycle?
I would say no, not necessarily. Everyone's different. Each situation is specific. But most schools understand that if you take the gap year, it can help prepare you for the entrance exam, like the DAT. There could be financial reasons that you might not be able to take a master's or a post-bac, or everyone has their own circumstances. So if you have a good DAT, if you have a good GPA, if you do well on your interviews, you're going to be a good candidate. Just because you have that little space in your resume doesn't mean you're necessarily a bad candidate.
And
so what do we want to talk about for a gap year then?
Yeah, I was going to say, so they want to see you use an efficient use of your time, right?
Exactly.
So what I would recommend doing is maybe considering doing additional volunteer work. Finding a job at a dental office can be very valuable experience, not just to show to the dental school, but also personally, because you get to really learn a lot about dentistry over there, and then bettering yourself as a person. So you don't even have to just limit it to dentistry.
And you've got plenty of time now if you don't do any more schooling. Most people just get a job, right? If they have a gap year. I was a dental assistant during my gap year between the master's and dental school, and volunteer. Shadow. I worked as a dental assistant, so that's more experience. And honestly, dental schools love when you actually work in a dental office. Mm-hmm. So, make good use of your time.
Yeah.
Don't just sit around playing video games, no matter how many people want to do that or whatever. Because, you work your butt off during undergrad, you want to just relax for a while. Keep moving. You get sedentary, you're just going to age, and you don't want to do that. So
you're just going to age.
You're just going to age. You don't want to get old while you're young.
Just fine.
You're going to turn to vinegar real soon if you don't. But no. So get a good. I don't want to say good job, but something that pertains to the field. I worked as a supervisor in the hospital, and we were transporting patients. So I learned hospital protocol, how you move patients, the do's and don'ts, what needs to be done, critical care, all this stuff. I was exposed to all of it, things I never knew before. And I would say I wouldn't trade it, because I worked a shift 30 minutes after my dental school interview. So I interviewed and then told them, listen guys, I can't stay for this whole thing. I got to get to work. And they said, oh wow, they were impressed. And they marked down on a piece of paper, the woman in charge, saying that I guess I was leaving to go to work. And they said, oh, very nice. And then I just, went on my way and went to work. So it could help,
I don't think there's any such thing as a bad experience when you're just trying to learn more about things in the medical field. Even if you don't enjoy it and it's a terrible job, or it's a terrible master's program or whatever, you're going to still gain valuable information from it, and you're still going to grow and learn and move forward from it. So no matter what you're doing, I think just make your time valuable if you do decide to do that gap year.
We presented a lot of information, and I know some of you might come up with more detailed questions. Please do message us, because we're really happy to answer any questions you guys might have, and I can expand more into my experience in the post-bac program, and I'm sure Seth will do the
Right.
same.
A lot of those people
Yeah.
that we shouted out today, those are questions from
Yeah.
them, you know? So we answer everybody's questions. We will always answer if anyone's question. We're here to help.
Yeah.
That's the point of this podcast.
We know what it's like. Yeah, we know what it's like.
Even if you have time, you know, I was, you know, out of school for 6 months and I didn't know what to do. I just started doing the most random things. I got certified in like babysitting, you know, like
You got certified.
How do you-
Yeah, there's like
I
a
thought you just,
certification.
like-
Like,
It's like
there's a
CPR.
certification. Yeah, like I got like basic life support. I got you know, like all this stuff. And I don't know if it helped, but you know, it's like just something to write on your application.
Basic life, I mean,
you know,
yeah, for sure.
I mean,
Right.
go
So
for it.
let's just
I know you. I'm sorry to cut you off. Qasim said he had something he wanted to ask me.
I think we'll obviously do a big episode about this later on down the road. But Anthony, I know you did an early acceptance program, right?
Yes.
So there might be some people who are in high school right now who
Uh-huh.
are considering going to the dental field. So is there like a quick thing that they can do to just get more information on it? Because I know I personally didn't know about that. If I knew about that, like it'd be really valuable because don't you gain like a year or something as well or something?
In terms of
Is it 4.3 or 3.4?
It's certain schools. I know there's a school up in New York. There's a small private school that actually does a 3.4 with a big dental school in New York. But I did a normal 4.4. It depends on the program. But if you're really looking into an EAP, you should try to see specifically what your undergraduate school is connected with and affiliated with. And actually, one of our friends, shout out to Vika, actually told me about.
shout out to Vika.
Yeah, you know, she told me about
Shout
the
out
EAPs.
what's going on right now.
Yeah, it's just shout out nation right here. So I really think that question is you should ask someone in your department.
Okay.
But they are very beneficial, and if you're able to hold that seat for yourself while you're going through college, it's just one less thing you have to worry about.
Exactly.
You know, you're still going to do the DAT, you're still going to do the interview process. It's still the same exact application, except there's just that little thought in the back of your head that okay, like I'll probably be okay as long as I just meet all my requirements, which is it's comforting in a way.
Awesome.
Right. So everyone, remember, you've got your own blueprint for your path to success, for your path to dental school. Do what's best for you. Hit us up. We're here to help. Don't be afraid to take chances. Grind your tail off.
Yeah.
Remember what I say about putting that pedal to the metal, okay? And keep that long-term goal in mind.
Anyone's capable of anything. Trust me, if you put your mind to anything, you can do whatever you want.
Absolutely.
There's no normal path. The 5 of us each took a completely different route to get here, and we're still sitting here today. So whatever works for you and whatever gets you here is what you need to do. Don't try to copy one of us. Create your own path, make your own way, and you'll get here as long as you
And
stay motivated.
That's how you stand out from the pack.
Yeah.
You create your own path. So
Absolutely.
we're here tonight. Matt Havis, Anthony Wallish, George Jarakis, and Qasim Naqvi, and I'm
Shout-outs.
Seth Kalish.
Shout out.
Shout out to all of you guys listening. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate you on Instagram Live right now. We
Thank
love
you guys
y'all.
for listening.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We've got a lot of cool episodes coming up. So we have some very exciting special guests coming. Also, did you know the dental god, Gordon Christensen, followed us on Instagram? Yes. Very exciting. Very exciting. So follow us on Instagram at dental.student.vibes, Twitter, Facebook. Hit us up. Love y'all. Thanks for listening.